AKA Powders, welcome back to the channel. Peter A. DeLuca here, and stay with me, known throughout Philadelphia, PA, Europe, and the vast multiverse as your eclectic one. Finally, we're getting to comic book greats. Yesterday, lightning struck my brain. I had the epiphany to do a Rob Liefeld week because I feel like there's just always stuff to say about Rob Liefeld, even though, guys, he's blocked me on social media. But we still say he is a major contributor to American comic book history, and because of that, well, he gets featured on this channel, and we discuss him. Guys, this video, everything you're about to see, deeply, highly influential. I bought this video for maybe, I want to say $35. Now, given this isn't the exact video, but $35, Tim D in South Jersey, the guy who overpriced everything. Everything was way high. But I paid it because I loved Rob Liefeld. That's how much I loved Rob Liefeld back in the day. I remember staying up to record his appearance during Dennis Miller. I remember watching commercials and pressing record to get that 501 commercial. I remember his Hero TV appearance and just seeing that Youngblood trailer at the end of that, and then never getting the Youngblood cartoon still to this day. But no, all of it, guys. And I just want to say, in this video, when he's drawing Die Hard, he's using like a thin Sharpie, and just the way he like stagnates his lines, like his lines aren't full, his lines are almost like stuttering, and he's like thinking as he's drawing. And I remember watching that and rewatching that, and then looking at the comic book pages and looking at anything else that I had of his, and just trying to imagine what the pencils look like, and what did the pencils look like compared to the inking. And it did help me fill in a couple gaps as just a young dude trying to learn comic book production, and all the methods possible. This video and the entire series, I had this one, I had the one with Rob Life, the one where Todd McFarlane creates Lotus, I had the Jim Lee, Will Sportacio one, and I also had, and I remember buying it used. It was like one of the first used VHSs I ever bought, but the Bob Kane one, and I would watch the Bob Kane one on repeat because I just liked his attitude, and a lot of the way Bob Kane spoke at that time is very similar to how I view Rob Liefeld, which is like a showmanship level. And that's one of Rob Liefeld's biggest contributions to American comic books. He's a presenter, he's a showman. Now, we can get into the guts and the details and really what's happening inside of some of the Rob Liefeld comic books. We will do that this coming week. But at the same time, Rob Liefeld brought eyeballs into comic books. Everything he's done since then, well, we have a spectrum of emotion that goes with that, and again, to be analyzed later. But this video, highly influential for me, and yes, I will still say at this time, I love Rob Liefeld's work, his career arc, everything going through Awesome Entertainment. Once Awesome Entertainment tanked, it was almost like the Rob Liefeld I loved died with Awesome Entertainment. So guys, comic book greats, and this is beginning. We're going to drop all the comic book greats on this channel. Let's go.
Hi, heroes. I'm Stan Lee. I can't blame you. And I'm really glad you're here today because we have a great guest. And I don't want you to let his age fool you. The fact that he's been in the business for so many years, it's 3 years, I believe, and he's all of 23 years old. And I want you to know he is one of the top talents in the comic book business. He writes, he draws, he's a great guy. You'll love listening to him. And here he is, Rob Liefeld. Hiya, Rob. Glad to have you here.
How you doing, Stan?
Okay. And I want to get right into it.
Okay.
And I want to find out how a guy like you, who looks legit in every other respect, ever got into the comic book business. How did it happen?
How did I get into the comic book business?
And how old were you when it happened?
I was 19.
19.
I was 19, and I was always reading comics and got major enjoyment out of them, you know, as a kid, and decided pretty early on that that's what I wanted to do as a living. Went to some conventions, shows, and got to meet the other artists and the other professionals and saw how comic books were produced, and tried to learn as much as I could from that. I figured I had to finish high school first, or you know, my parents would have a conniption fit, so we had to get through that. And so once high school was finished, and I was just working some odd jobs, I said I'm going to break into comic books. So for about a year, I worked a couple jobs, delivered pizzas, worked some construction in the daytime. And all the while, every free moment, you know, away from friends or whatever, working on my comic books.
I mean, you were drawing in
all
your
drawing,
spare
yeah,
time?
yeah, drawing.
Had you studied art, or did you just pick it up on your own?
No, you know, the high school art classes, you know, draw an apple, draw a flower, I mean, and stuff, and that was good. I mean, I learned my fundamentals, but I was always drawing or coloring or you know, tracing. I mean, I think I started out tracing, you know, when I was a kid. You know, and then you kind of graduate to, hey, I think I can draw this. I don't have to look at it or trace over it anymore. So I was doing stuff like that.
Were you tracing comic book artwork?
Oh yeah,
oh
yeah. Mainly comic book art. I mean, comic books. I just thought they were the coolest. You know, the big guys, the strong villains. You know, it was just exciting stuff.
I admire your taste and perception.
Oh yeah, and so naturally I wanted to grow up and draw that stuff. Now, Mom and Dad weren't real thrilled about this because they weren't really sure, you know, comic books, you know, what's that about? I mean, I used to get in trouble for reading comic books. My dad would find them and then throw them away.
Really?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Before or after you read them?
Oh, good question. Well, sometimes I'd have to hide them because I didn't have an opportune moment to, you know, look them over. But I wasn't real good at hiding things. I'd hide them in the washroom or whatever, and I'd go to find it, and then they'd say, "You're looking for a comic book? It went with today's trash." And I'd be,
really? Wow.
I'd be, oh yeah, they thought that was bad news. They didn't want their kid tied up in comic books, but they don't complain anymore. They're big fans of comic books now. But anyway, out of high school, having all this, you know, built all this up from a young age, every spare moment I was trying to draw. Went to a local junior college, took some life drawing classes to see how the body was in motion and stuff. But studying the guys I liked, seeing what made me respond to their work on paper, and started mailing stuff off.
Excuse me one moment. Who were some of the guys you liked? I think that would be interesting.
Actually, John Byrne, Frank Miller, George Perez, and those were the guys who actually were currently doing comics. You know, as I was collecting them. Friends of mine would say, "Well, are you into Neil Adams? Or are you familiar with Jack Kirby's work?" And so then I'd go, you know, and get turned on to their work, and it was just, you know, I was just taking everything in as I could, you know.
You sort of became an amalgam of all that was best of all.
Oh, sure.
Of them, huh?
I mean, I'd say, well, I like this. This guy's got a lot of detail, and this guy does cool figures, and this guy does great close-ups, and this guy's really moody, you know, and that guy draws really realistic, you know. And you're trying to find, well, what do I like about all these guys, and try and put it into some style that you could call your own. So anyway, I was sending off packages right and left to smaller companies. You know, not the big two, being Marvel Comics and DC Comics. I was kind of in awe of them, or you know, afraid of them. A friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, there's this big convention in San Francisco. I read about it in one of these trade magazines.
Comic book convention.
Comic book convention." And I'd been to a couple of those locally. But this one had tons of editors on the guest list, and I had already learned that, you know, that's how you get your job from the editors. That if they don't like your work, you're not going to get in. And so we decided, we had a free weekend, to hop in the car, go to my aunt and uncle's place in San Francisco. I lived in Anaheim, Orange County, so it was about anywhere from a 7 to 8 hour drive. Drove all Friday night, got to my aunt and uncle's, you know, kicked back. I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh, tomorrow's it. It was kind of like trial by fire. Go in there and see if they respond. So we got there bright and early, and I decided I'd go to hit all the small companies first.
Let me interrupt once more for a second.
No problem.
What type of artwork were you bringing to show them?
I
think people would want to know.
All my own stuff. I mean, I created my own characters. And
did you do it as if it was a page of a
comic?
Oh
yeah, they were all
panels?
comic sequential art. I didn't give them pinups. I didn't give them posters because I had already learned that that's not what they wanted.
So you made it look like a comic book page.
Oh, sure. I drew my own comic
them.
books. Yeah, I had about 10 pages of comic book art featuring my own characters, and because actually the reason I featured my own characters was because that I was scared that I wasn't going to draw the Hulk as good as this guy did, or I'd draw Spider-Man as cool as this guy did. So I said, if it's my characters, nobody's drawing them as good as I am right now because no one knows they exist. So we took them down to San Francisco and showed them to the small companies and kind of build the courage. And eventually, they were all pretty responsive, and everyone's pretty busy. The convention was pretty busy. And about midday, I went over to DC Comics, and I said, well, I'll try and hit them up. And Dick Giordano, who was one of the main guys at DC, I believe he still is, looked over my stuff, said he was interested, and responded with a please send more. I gave him a Xerox packet. I had Xeroxes all my work, handed him out right and left. And then we were kind of at Marvel at this huge display. And my friend's going, go to Marvel, go talk to Marvel. And I was like, I don't know if I want to talk to Marvel. I don't think they'd be interested. And he said, go talk to Marvel. So I walked over there, and a guy by the name of Mark Grunwald, an editor, looked over my work. And he looked up at me and he said, how would you like to work for Marvel Comics? I fell over, I was like, you're kidding me, right? And he said, no, I have something right here in the bag that I can give you. Some character sketches and like an 8-page story.
You mean right off the bat?
Right there, on the spot.
And you hadn't wanted to go to Marvel?
Oh, I was terrified.
Why was that? Why more terrified of Marvel?
It's like they're the biggest game on the block.
It was like pulling teeth. I knew I'd get you to say that.
Oh, exactly. They were the big, the biggest catch. I mean, you figure, I didn't think I was quite ready. I didn't have the confidence. And
it was the biggest one that really recognized your stuff the best.
Yeah, I mean, I was just extremely fortunate. I mean, the ride home did not think of anything but, wow, I'm going to work in comics. I mean, I did not even think of the trip.
How you felt. Yeah.
So I came home and I was like, wow, I'm actually going to work in comics.
And you had an 8-page story to start with.
Yeah, they handed me an 8-page story and said, why don't you start drawing this? And he told me that if I didn't get in contact with him, to call him in a week.
Do you remember what the story was?
It was a story of the Black Panther. It was for an Avengers book that they did, and so it was a character called the Black Panther. Now I never got to draw the story, because they gave it to somebody else as well, and then that person drew it and saw print. What I gathered was they gave a lot of different plots out to up and coming artists.
I didn't know that. I thought it was a definite assignment.
It was a definite assignment, but they eventually got me more work. I mean, it wasn't like it was a gag.
They did get you something else.
Oh, sure, yes. So then, I mean, from there on in, I was able to go home and say, well, cool, I can work these other jobs for just a little while longer, and then I'll be making my living from drawing comics, which is what I'd always, looked forward to doing.
And that's what you're doing now.
Yeah, constantly.
Son of a gun. Well, let me see. What I'd like to know is, in the beginning, what was the first strip that you did that was printed?
The first.
Do you remember?
Yeah, it was a strip called Hawk and Dove for DC Comics.
Yeah.
It's weird how yin yang back. Marvel hired me on the spot at the convention and was interested and said they wanted me to do work, but at the time, you tell your parents or you tell your friends I'm working in comics, you better cough up some proof of that fact. And the first person to get you, something in the mail, because I called back about that plot they gave me, and they said, well, hold off on it. I mean, talk to us a little before you do it, Marvel. They wanted to walk me through it a little, and I did some character sketches like they had asked for this book that they were producing for Marvel. So I did send my first work off, but it wasn't like a story to Marvel. It was some character designs that they had wanted, but DC sent me my first story. Like, here, get started on this. And I was just going to do the first thing that came to me. And so I was actually kind of bouncing between DC and Marvel for the time being. But the Hawk and Dove book was a 5-issue miniseries, so it was very finite. It was going to be over in 5 months. And while I was doing that, Marvel then called and inquired about me doing regular work for them, which I was more than excited, about doing.
Me too.
So
what was the first job
for Marvel?
Yeah.
The first job was actually a Spider-Man story. It was what they call an annual. It's like a special thing they give out once a year, you know. And so I did a Spider-Man job, and it's like weird. You're 3 pages into it, and you go, I'm drawing Spider-Man, you know. It's kind of weird, you know. It's like because he's become so recognizable and so part of, you know, comic book history or whatever. And so I did Spider-Man, and then they moved me into some X-Men books, did some X-Men stuff, and eventually there was a book that called The New Mutants that they wanted to change things on, and they moved me into that. So
isn't it incredible how you, as a beginner, in a sense, started out doing 2 of the top books and 2 of the best-selling books in the world?
I was the thing I always tell people is I was very fortunate that you know, the stuff fit that.
Maybe the people at Marvel also had the good sense enough to know what to give you.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Because you certainly did a great job. Now, you're now doing an X-Factor book, I believe.
X-Force.
X-Force?
Yeah.
X-Force. That's
Everyone confuses them.
Yeah,
Factor, Force,
How many X books do we have?
I think there's like 8, 10 now. I mean, everything. They got, there's the team books, and then each member of the team has their own book. So, yeah, people get all confused all the time. My own editor.
I used to know them all. I must admit, I get confused also.
Oh, when there used to be 1 X-Men book and 1 Spider-Man book,
yeah.
and there's 5 Spider-Mans and there's 5 X-Men. So
when we get a good thing, we don't let it go.
That's right. No.
But anyway, the getting started as a pro, then you didn't have too tough a time. I mean, the minute somebody really saw your work, they were able to recognize it was good, and you did get started. Yeah. And I think that's just terrific. It's an unusual story, but it's a great one. But you must have other interests too. Now, besides comics, I hear that you're big in basketball.
No, I'm not. I'm big at trying to play basketball. I'm a big fan, but I don't want to get on the court and make a fool of myself with anybody who.
Do you go for much exercise and sports?
Actually, you know, with being an artist as a living, when I first got into comics, I would just sit at my desk and draw and do the work, and you get easily distracted. If you didn't want to draw the page, I found that I'd go and sit and watch TV for a while, or I'd go and I'd eat a Snickers bar or 6, and eventually I was like, wow, I'm not getting much healthier this way. So I think, yeah, you've got to get out and exercise, and I always try and make it a nice blend of a day, get out and do something that's exercise every day, because you're just
can't sit over that board all the
time.
No,
not all.
I used to be that way about writing. You just can't sit over a typewriter and then later a computer all day long. You have to find other things to do. So I decided to interview artists.
That would break up your day.
And boy, you can tell you're an artist. You haven't let go of that pencil.
Yeah, I know.
And I want to tell you keep doodling. I want that page autographed before we go. Okay,
that's a deal.
That's a promise. Now let me ask you something else. And I think this would be interesting. Oh, by the way, I just want to let the world out there know that before this is over, we're going to see Rob doing some drawing, but we're saving the best for the last.
Oh, okay. We're going to do that last.
So tell me, how do you feel about comic strips themselves? What do you think makes one comic book story better than another? What is it that makes your X-Men outsell Joe Blow's something else?
You know what, I think I've thought about this a lot sometimes. You go, why is this doing better than this particular book? Mm-hmm. I think it's the people who really, they take the time and the care and they put the effort into it. I think anything you do, once you put the effort into it, and especially something like this, producing 22 pages of artwork on a monthly basis is no walk in the park. You have to constantly, and to do it month after month after month, it's like you have to constantly recreate yourself, come up with something new, because if you don't, your readers are going to get bored, your fans are going to get bored, and they're going to move on to something else that has effort put into it, has created, if you become lazy with your product, it's going to result in the readers, a disinterest on their part.
One thing that a lot of people don't realize, today, comic book stories have become so complex with plots and subplots and subtle characterization that a complete comic book story is almost like a motion picture.
Yes.
And if you think about it, people like yourself are doing a minimum of 12 comic book stories a year. Well, that's like doing 12 motion pictures a year, which nobody can do.
Definitely.
And so the amount of creativity that's required is enormous. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you didn't. It's a great point, because a lot of people don't... Sometimes, I swear, I come in contact with this all the time. People meet you and they ask you what you do for a living, and you tell them you're a cartoonist, and then they again say, well, what do you do for a living? And I think people don't...
You think you get paid just to draw pictures?
No, I think people open up their Sunday Funnies or go buy that comic off the rack or see them and think that some machine produces this, or some race of people called cartoonists, you know, come up with this. It's like
They're
oh,
mutants.
you draw comics for a living. It's like they can't really grasp it. It's not something they can grasp, you know, because it's not something they're familiar with. Doctors, you know, plenty of doctors. Lawyers, you've met some in your lifetime, you know. Cartoonists, they're like this weird breed of people think, you know, and they can't. Like I said, I've just always felt that people think that some machine churns all this out, you know?
It's a funny thing about comic books. They've changed so in recent years. They've gotten more respect. I remember when I first started, and we're going back a few centuries ago, but I'd be at a cocktail party with my wife, and someone would come over and say, hello, what do you do for a living? And I knew the reaction I would get. So I would say, well, I'm a writer, and I would try to walk away. But, you know, they'd grab me and, what do you write?
Exactly.
And I still tried to fudge it. I'd say, stories for children. Grab me again. What kind of stories? Where are they published? Oh, in magazines. What kind of magazine? And finally, I had to say, comic books. And suddenly the hand would come off my shoulder, and they'd walk away.
Exactly, because it's like they didn't understand, or they don't take it seriously.
But now I go to a party, and everybody pushes past Steven Spielberg.
Oh, definitely. Where's Stan Lee?
That's right. And hey, there's a guy who works in comics,
That's
and
right.
all around.
That's
It's
right.
a whole different thing.
That's
you know?
right.
So anyway, I want to get back to what you said. You were saying that you got to work hard and you have to take it seriously, but you and I know it's got to be more than that, because there are a lot of artists and writers who work hard, who take it seriously, who give it their best shot, but they still don't do things that are big winners. So
Okay.
I'm waiting for you to say, and you know what I'm waiting for you to say.
You know what? I don't want to sound, you know, it's like
You gotta
I don't
say
want to
it.
sound like a comics philosopher or whatever, but you know, it's I think it boils down to this. Oh boy, it's personal vision. I think what you know, you look at the different artists that I liked a lot. There were certain signature things they did all the time. You know, they knew it was like there was a formula to what they were doing. They had a personal formula, a personal vision, and you saw that on the page. They felt very strongly about what you're doing. That's where I think the effort and the interest gets into it. I think there's people here who they would be just as happy to draw, you know, just the same old story of Spider-Man month in and month out and grab the paycheck, and they're getting to be able to draw. They're drawing. They're having fun drawing, but they don't want to do much more than, you know, kind of draw for a living. They're getting to draw for a living. I think the guys that stand out are the guys that they just, it's so into them, it's bursting out of their head. You know, I mean, there's always new ideas. When I talk to my editors at Marvel or anyone I'm working with creatively, they always say, you know, slow down, because I'll get ahead of myself, and they'll say, wait, we have to take care of these 6 points before you bring up 6 more points, because you just want to, you know, when you have good ideas, you want to cram them all at once. You want to go, oh man, I want to show the kid this month too. You know,
One thing we forgot to mention, you also do your own plots, don't you?
Yeah, I do all the plots.
So you not only draw the strip, but you come up with the idea for the story.
Essentially, it's writing the story. I don't feel that I've ever been like a wordsmith. I mean, I have a tendency to stutter and get.
I know you're doing pretty good now.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate the idea that you're showing me up, but we'll talk about that later.
But anyway, so I figured, why not let somebody who's better with that handle that? And Marvel.
So someone else puts in the dialogue and the captions.
Yeah.
You come up with the basic plot. You draw it, and then somebody puts in the words you read on the page.
And you know what? I have no desire. Maybe one day I'll get real, you know, a whole bunch of courage up and put words in their mouth. But I think that would just probably ruin the picture as a whole. Right now, what I'm good at is coming up with plots and creating stories and situations. But if I had to be the guy who put the words in their mouth to talk and speak, it'd be gibberish.
Now, let me just say something else. If anybody out there is wondering, why are we listening to this man's philosophy? What does he know that's more than anyone else? There's one little fact I forgot to mention, which I think is of more than passing interest. Your newest comic book,
X-Force.
How many copies would you say it looks like it's going to sell?
We're, again, very fortunate. It did very well. I think it sold 3.7 copies, and they sold out, and they had
3.7 what?
Million. Oh, yeah, million. Sorry.
I think that's an important key word, don't you?
3.7 million copies, and then there was another 1.5 added on that. It came out above 5 million copies.
More than 5 million copies.
Yeah, and you know what? It's weird. You just kind of hear that, and it didn't really faze me until a few weeks later. I read about this band who their record company was really happy about them selling 1 million copies because they got, you know, I think platinum or something like that, gold, platinum, silver, bronze. And then you kind of go, wow, that's a lot of comics to sell.
You're going uranium.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
but
I
think it's even more than a lot of comic books. I think that is more than any comic book have ever sold since time began.
For now.
All right.
For now.
Oh, well, we'll break your record next week,
Oh,
probably.
and that's the
it'll probably
goal.
be you
Yeah.
who breaks it.
No.
But I mean, it's a phenomenal, fantastic thing to sell that many million comic books.
It was a surprise. It was,
And that's why I'm listening with rapt attention, and I want
Oh,
to
come
learn
on.
what I can
You've sold,
about what makes
if we tallied up everything you've sold, it'd be in the billions. So,
Yeah, but it was over a period of years and a lot of issues.
yeah, well,
It isn't fair to torture the viewers any longer. I mean, sitting here with you this way, it's like I'm with the world's greatest, or one of the world's greatest pianists, and I'm not letting him play the piano. Or I'm with one of the world's great magicians and not letting him do a trick. I mean, here's a guy whose artwork is totally fantastic and phenomenal, and we haven't let you draw yet, and we're going to rectify that right
Okay.
now. How about coming over to that drawing board over there and showing everybody what it is we're talking
okay,
about?
let's do it.
Terrific.
All right.
I have a feeling that our viewers would probably love to see you create a brand new character in front of their eyes.
Okay,
Think
exclusively,
you're up to it?
exclusively on this show. Yeah, yeah.
Terrific.
As a matter of fact, the other day, I'm just going to start right now.
How do you start with a new character? What do you think of first? The name?
Yeah, the name. I think the name is really important. Kids don't get excited over, Petunia Man or Milkman. They want the Hulk or Cable or this new name I got for this guy. His name is Die Hard.
Die Hard.
And it
Oh,
sounds
sensational.
deadly. Sounds deadly. I think the kids would like him. So first of all, we give
Wait till
him a
Bruce
standard.
Willis gets after you.
Oh, yeah. He'll be a big fan of this character.
Okay. So you know you're going to call him Die Hard. Now, once you've got the name, what do you do?
I then try and give a visual that goes along with that name. Something like I already said, Die Hard seems to be like a deadly type name. You'd think of something, Die Hard.
Doesn't sound like a cream puff at all.
No, exactly. So anyway, so we're sitting here and we're drawing him. And I've got about the basics down here, and I'll go to ink right now.
I noticed that all these heroic characters, they kind of stand like this, bow-legged with their arms like that, right?
Oh, sure. That's showing how tough they are.
That's right.
How wide they can swing. And
I wonder
how
if I
far
would look
apart.
tough if I stood like that. I don't know.
Oh, you gotta flex your muscles, Stan.
But the drawings sure look that way.
Okay, so
Now, do you, in your mind now, know what he's going to look like? Are you just drawing this according to a picture you've already got in your mind?
Yeah, exactly. Something like I said, he'll be a tough guy. And first of all, his face. His face,
Gotta have a face.
Yeah, gotta have a face. And this face, we have this big jet black stripe down the middle here. And it's mysterious. You can't see his face.
That's pretty mysterious.
And maybe we'll never show his face. So the kids will always wonder, who is this guy? And so there, he's got his, in black. Black kind of says something. Maybe we'll make him all black and red or something like that.
That's what I like about your drawings. They all make a statement in some way.
Okay, and then we're going to give him the chest right here.
So there's a big black vertical line going down the face between the eyes, covering the nose and where the mouth would be,
So
right?
far. And right now I'm just going to go out and underline and outline what I've kind of got down as his anatomy, his figure.
And you put it in very lightly in pencil first, just to give yourself a guide.
Yeah, just a guideline.
I noticed one
most
thing
of the
about
stuff.
your drawings. You don't finish a line very often. You draw in a staccato way. You draw a little bit, then another little bit, then another little bit. You leave spaces between the lines. That's very interesting.
Stan, that's one of my trade secrets.
Really?
Break up the lines. Yeah,
Well,
we
it's
don't
only you
want
and
them
me
to know.
talking. You can talk about it.
Okay, let's see. It's safe with us, I hope. Okay, so here, I'm going through, got his anatomy pretty much down. Got him some strength to his figure. Again.
Yeah, I'd say he looks pretty strong.
Okay, we're almost done here. We've got the legs done. Give him some multiple muscles in his legs. Sometimes, the fans go, where do they get all that muscle? They drink their milk every morning. They're strong guys.
You'd be okay if you didn't draw so slowly. I think you'd really be.
Yeah, I got to draw faster. That's my new goal for the new.
Well, you draw a
upcoming
minimum
year.
of 20 some odd pages a month, right?
Yeah, and
minimum.
That's no walk in the park. I mean, it takes some effort.
It's really incredible. You draw it in pencil, then you draw it in ink.
Yeah.
That's after you've plotted the story.
Yeah, after I've written the story, and then I lightly sketch it out, and then we go to ink. Okay, so we've got his figure down.
Okay.
Okay, so let's give him some gear.
Now this is the exciting part, putting the costume on, right?
Yep. And we'll give him some gear. And
You
'cause I
always-
always liked gear when I was a kid.
Yeah, who doesn't? You always seem to throw something around the shoulders, which
Yeah,
is pretty
it's-
dramatic.
It's a fashion statement.
Yeah.
So we're giving him a fashion statement here. To make it some high-tech mumbo-jumbo, give him some more lines, looks like more technology, more hardware.
My wife would say she loves the way you accessorize these guys.
Yeah, they're definite fashion plates. Okay, so now I'm going through giving a little more muscle. Okay, we've got some stuff on his shoulders, we got to give him some kind of cut for his costume. Okay, we'll start with his shoulders here, and we'll go over here, and then we'll cut down. Okay, do something like that. Then we'll cut in here, and we'll do this. I'll blacken all this in, so it'll be clearer to see in just a second. And
it'll have a totally different look by the time you blacken it in.
Yeah.
I would have a feeling, looking at him, that he's more physical than cerebral. Is that's just a wild guess?
Yeah,
Would you
I think
say
so. Yeah, I think that'd be safe to say. So, okay, see, we got him the lines under the eyes, kind of makes him look mad. We'll give him some little ankle. Here, let's give him a guy named Die Hard. Should be able to fly around, so we can fly down on the people and swat them. So there, he's got some jets.
This is what enables him to fly. These are little jets, are they?
Yeah.
I should have known that.
Okay, so we're giving him his neck thing.
What would his personality be, would you say?
Wouldn't talk much. Kind of guy that gets the job done. Doesn't
Clint
sit around.
Eastwoody?
Very much
Kind of
so.
like Stan Lee? And
Oh, definitely.
Real rugged and
Definitely.
strong,
Very,
silent.
very
I
much
see
in that mold of Stan
Sure, I
Lee,
can
Arnold
see that.
Schwarzenegger, Bronson,
Arnie, Stan, and Charlie.
and Die Hard.
And Die Hard.
Okay, here, we're just going to go through real quick.
Does he have a special superpower? Should have been my first
He's
question.
got it all. He can do anything.
Really?
He can fly.
That's not a bad talent.
He's strong. Definitely comes in handy.
He flies, he's strong.
He flies. He can. Let's say he's got super strength. Can lift things, throw them at people, throw cars,
I'm
throw
almost
buildings.
afraid to ask the next question. I hope he's a good guy.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, thank
definitely,
goodness.
Definitely on the side of good. Because there's too many bad guys out there, and the good guys need to be more powerful.
I would
therefore.
say so. We need a lot of diehards around.
So we're going through here, we're giving the highlights, giving the little black shines, giving more detail in the work. Okay.
It seems you start with a thin pencil, then you get a thicker little black marker, then you get a very heavy marker. What'll the next thing you use be? A paintbrush?
Get some colored markers if we had some.
Really?
Go throw some color in
sorry,
there.
we don't.
Oh yeah. So there we go. And okay. Now I'm going to go in. Actually, okay, he's got his chest. We've got all this stuff covered. Let's see. Oh, got to blacken his foot in. And there. Now we got a new character. Named Die Hard. Okay.
You letter also. Is there no end to your talents?
I can talk and
I
letter.
used to letter like that. I love that kind of lettering.
Did you? I think
There's
yeah,
probably a
pretty
name for it, and I don't know what it is, but I love that style.
Amateur.
Yeah, maybe that's why
There
I
you
love
go.
it.
Die Hard. Okay, why don't we put him through, we'll put him through some paces here. But let's see, does he any more gear? Put some more shine.
Yeah, he doesn't have as much gear as you usually put on, does he?
Yeah, if he's going to
I mean,
fly
just
around,
a couple
you know
of
what?
shoulder things is all
A couple
I see.
shoulder things, some wrist things over here. We gave him
You
some
didn't
wrist things.
accentuate that. Now
right
they're
here.
getting a little more definite.
Okay, so there we got that. And these are fists, kids. This is what he's going to punch you with.
Right. And he's not wearing any type of rifles or guns?
No,
or
not this guy.
gadgets?
He's strictly physical. Now, if I was going to create like a more commando type guy, like say, we'll just create a more commando type guy. Go over here. Okay, we'll have this guy. Put him in another strong stance while I'm carrying a big gun.
Do you have a name for him?
Let's
Joe
call
Commando?
him. Let's call him Cross.
How do you spell it?
CROSS.
All right, Cross.
Okay. Put his eyes in
I
here.
assume he's always angry.
He's not a happy guy.
No.
I mean,
They're
I
never
should
happy,
probably.
are they? Have you
no,
noticed
they're all
that?
pretty,
They're
pretty
never
unhappy.
happy.
Well, what they do isn't easy, and it's not it's not
I
a
think
nice
since
job.
Howard the Duck, we haven't had too many happy characters, have we?
That's true. That's true. So anyway, we'll make this tough guy here and just show you how I would approach this differently. Okay, we just going to dab his eyes.
What power
in.
would you say Cross has?
Well, since Cross, we're going to give him some accessories and more guns and weapons.
More gear than our friend
we're just going to
Die
say Die Hard. Die Hard's got more like superpowers. Cross here, give him a little spit curl here.
Oh, I love that spit curl.
Okay.
He relies on his gadgets, right? His equipment.
Yes. So anyway, we're just going to give this face here.
Hey,
so
that's
the
a
kids,
pretty handsome face you're drawing
So the
there.
kids know who they're looking at here.
He looks very noble. Huh?
Very noble, but
Yeah.
gets the job done and will
like
do
that
anything
face.
to get the job done. What do you think? You think they'll go for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, this is how I'd approach him now. Giant neck, Giant neck. Okay.
Right.
Now, if we're going to give him gear,
Now it's the gear that really turns
yeah,
me on.
because
I
you
wanna see
criticized
that
Die
gear.
Hard because he didn't have
Yeah,
enough gear.
Die Hard didn't make it for me. Not enough
Okay.
gear.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, here, why don't we
All
put
right.
a shoulder pad over here, and over here, we'll got to give him a huge chest again. This guy, he'll be even bigger than Die Hard.
You know, every time I think of your artwork, the first thought that comes to mind is huge shoulder pads.
Okay.
I'm surprised your T-shirt doesn't have a lot of padding in it.
Yeah. I'm just not as big as these guys. Wouldn't look good on me.
I don't know how big they'd be without all the equipment.
Okay.
No, I guess he's pretty big.
So, okay. Now with this, we're gonna
Wish you wouldn't make it look so easy.
accessorize this guy to the teeth.
Okay.
We're gonna give him some pockets over here because he can carry his ammo and his bubble gum.
Have you ever drawn them before, or are you making them up now?
This is the world premiere.
Really?
Yes.
So I'm in at the beginning of a new superhero
Definitely.
called Cross.
Cross.
And obviously, if our lawyers are tuning in, you and I are creating this together, so we
Of
both
course.
share the copyright. I mean, you couldn't have done it.
Have
if
your
not for
lawyer
this.
call mine.
Okay, my people will
But
call yours.
I got a great tagline for him already.
What's that?
He's the guy you don't want to cross.
Very good. Oh, that's good.
There you
I like
go.
that. I like
We're on
that.
a roll, Stan.
Yes,
we're
sir.
gonna sell a bazillion commies.
I have a feeling
comics.
with your artwork, we'd sell 1 billion of anything.
Nah, Cross is gonna be the big seller. Everyone's gonna have a Cross comic book because he's cool and he's accessorized. Okay, now we're putting these things on his shoulders. Mm-hmm. Okay. And
Do you ever
that's
say to
it.
yourself, what do these things on the shoulders do?
oh
or do
sure,
you just have
he would
things on
grab
the
these
shoulders?
off. He would grab those off and throw them, and they'd like explode.
Like
again.
boomerangs? Oh,
Sure.
like explosives, okay.
Explosives, yeah.
Great.
To get him out in a pinch.
There you go with the little lines that have little spaces in them again.
I'm telling you, the more you point that out, the more you're going to draw attention to it, and then I'm going to have mass competition. And
No, nobody else would know how to do it like you.
let's hope not. Okay, so then give him some more belts,
Mm-hmm.
some more gear, give him a big tank top for his rippling muscles. There's his chest. Here, okay, and his belt is full of more stuff than you would imagine.
Right,
Just
right.
all sorts of gear. Here's the gun.
And
gun
every one of
pocket.
those compartments holds something different.
Oh, definitely. And here's his belt buckle or 6. And there's
Now-
some more explosives. There's another pocket. Okay.
I'm going to
Going
give you
down
2 minutes to finish the accessories. Let's see how you go.
Okay, let's see how fast can we accessorize
What about
this
that
guy?
wristband there? What does that
Okay,
do?
you know what? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give him spikes.
Oh, he's got to have spikes.
Okay, spikes.
So if he misses you with his fist, he gets you with his forearm.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about spike later, right?
That's why I want to rush you. There's one subject we forgot to cover.
Okay, well we're
We'll
gonna
get back
to
to
it.
that table and get
Okay,
to
but
it.
we gotta accessorize him. How am I doing on time?
I think you've got about another minute to go.
Okay, how about we give him a holster right here?
Not trying to get you nervous, but be nervous.
Oh no,
There's the
I'm good
holster.
under pressure. I'm good under pressure.
I see that.
Okay, there we go. Okay, we're gonna get this. Give him a glove on this hand. We didn't glove that hand, so we'll give him a glove on this hand.
Does the glove do anything, or it's just a glove?
Nah, it's just so his hands don't get dirty.
I bet if you had time to think of it, the glove would do
Oh,
something.
sure we would. But here's the big bazooka gun.
And that's behind him. He's carrying that on his shoulder, and it's
Oh
probably
yeah,
come down
it's
back
coming
there.
over here.
Right.
Boom, we got this here. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna go to the thick pin so we can hurry this up, and I can make your incredible deadline that you put me under.
Now, there's just one more subject that I think I want to talk about, but this has been absolutely great.
So
Now,
there.
does he have special kind of boots?
Yeah, we're putting pads on his boots.
Any spikes on him?
On these one over here, on the side. That's good. On the side. We'll give him spikes on the
Now, you
side.
see, that's my contribution, right?
Okay, you got
Okay,
it.
so it's definitely a collaboration.
Have your lawyer call me, Stan. Okay.
I think you did a good job on my character, too.
Hey, thanks. Actually, why don't we?
Might as well put spikes all over.
Heck yeah. No one will touch
Certainly
him.
on
no
the
one
shoulder.
No one will get near him.
I
you know
hope he
what?
doesn't tilt his head down like that. He's
Oh,
dead.
me too. Cut his ear off. Okay.
Another weapon back there?
So now, see, you like him? You like him? Is he accessorized
I
enough?
think he's great. I really do. And his name is Cross.
Cross.
Now, I hope everybody will remember they saw our creation first, right here, right?
Yeah, right here. Right here
Oh, that's terrific.
on your video show. Okay. So he's hairy. Oh, throw a little more
A
hair
little
on the
more chest hair. You always put that in, don't you?
And there we go. Cross is history.
That is great.
So
I
we'll
hope the
cross-
camera is catching this
We'll
beautifully.
put. Oh, how
because
about this? We'll put cross.
in our style of lettering.
Oh, yes. The infamous style.
But the only thing when you do that kind of lettering, it must always overlap. You see, like that S should be like that.
Oh,
you never
actually-
let them touch each other. You
That's
see,
right.
Like
That's,
there.
yeah, I made a mistake there.
So you didn't bat 100, but it's okay.
okay,
you're
we'll
all right
put a
in my
big
book.
cross. There, that's his logo. Thanks a lot,
Terrific.
Stan.
All right, let's get back, and we're going to talk about the one subject I've been saving till the end, which
Okay.
fascinates me.
Okay. All right, let's do
Terrific.
it.
What I wanted to say, and I've been waiting all during our little talk, I understand that this is not your first bout in showbiz. I understand that you are an old-timer at this sort of thing.
Not quite.
That you have done a world-famous commercial, which almost everybody has seen, and I think I would love it if you would just tell us about it.
Okay, I'm going to assume you're talking about the 501 commercial.
Well, what else would it be?
It's the only commercial
Okay.
I've done. Yeah, they have this Levi's 501 ad campaign, and the gist of the whole campaign is to get people who do unique jobs for a living, and then they plug the jeans through that. And you know, you wear your 501s while you bungee cord jump, or while you milk the cow, or in this case, I was fortunate enough while I draw comic books. There was a phone number that came on the screen and you know, said, if you do something interesting in your 501s, why don't you call? So I was just, as a fluke, I wrote the number down on my board as I was drawing, and I called, and they asked to leave a 45-second message, and I told them that, you know, my name was Rob Liefeld. I told them how old I was, where I lived, what I did for a living. I worked for Marvel Comics, and if they wanted to find out more, call me back. A couple weeks went by, and I really didn't hear anything back from them. And then one evening, about 9 o'clock, it was later in the evening, it surprised me, they gave me a call, and said they were the Levi's company, and that they had got my call, and they were interested in doing the commercial. So to make a long story short, eventually everything got hammered out, and the cool thing was, right before it started, they said, well, you know, Spike Lee directs these. And I'm a big Spike Lee fan.
How can you not be?
Oh yeah, and really enjoy all his movies, and have always thought that they had like a comic book element to them in the style of which he directs.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited. That was a real highlight. So while doing the commercial, they asked me several questions that had to do with comics. I mean, actually about 100 questions. They sit there and you film, and they filmed a lot of information, which they then cut down to a 30-second ad spot. But it was amazing. He really knew so much about comics, and this will make you happy, a real big Marvel Comics fan specifically, and just knew all about, asked me about Prince Namor, the Submariner, does he still have wings on his feet, and,
That's wonderful.
and the Invisible Girl, and so it was just really nice. And the thing that I really got excited about was that it was a chance to kind of get comics on TV every day.
I got
you know,
yeah.
And that's what it's turned out to be. It was pretty funny. When I saw the commercial, it was pretty unexpected, and they had shot me in a blue room, and said that they would put my characters in the background with me, and I was pretty excited. Kept trying to visualize it, but one night, just sitting with a bunch of friends, we were watching a TV show, and the commercial came on, and I didn't expect it, and it was a real treat to see it, and it's just neat.
What did the commercial actually show, for anybody who hasn't seen it?
Okay, it starts off with me drawing in my office, the studio, and it asks about how long I'd been drawing comics. It asked about how my parents felt about it.
Disembodied voice asks you these
Yeah,
things?
this is Spike Lee.
Yeah.
Spike Lee is asking.
But you don't see him on camera.
You see his body at one point, and then in the middle of the commercial, he asked me to draw him. He says, "Who is this?" And I say, "It's Spike Man." He had wanted to see himself.
That's great.
as a superhero. So we gave him spikes, as you can already see that I'm very fond of, and I gave him a long billowing cape, and I had his hat on, and it was pretty funny, you know. Made him into a superhero. Real big fan of comics, and so it was just nice. And I think the cool thing is that it kind of legitimizes to kids their hobby. You know, that comics.
Yeah.
Wow, it's on MTV. It's on. So I think it's cool. I hope more things like that, you know, happen. It would be nice to see comics continue to break into the mainstream, you know, through whatever it is, movies, commercials, television, you know.
Rob, I got to tell you, I think that you are a great spokesman for the comic industry, a great evangelist for comicdom, and I think you've made it very clear to everybody who's been watching this why we call this series the Comic Book Greats. And I thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Stan.
Never had a better time, and I
Okay.
hope we can do it again.
All right, thank you.